Hey guys, D.Bowie here, and this is how to play Safe Lane Alchemist in 702 featuring Matumbaman. Okay boys, if you're watching my stream of H vs Vega, you noticed that I got suspended on Twitch. At first I was kinda intrigued as to why that happened, and now I know the answer. I would like to thank PDS from Beyond the Summit Brazil for explaining to me why I got suspended, since I actually had no idea. It turns out that the tournament I decided to stream is a hitbox only tournament. I was rightfully banned, yet this showcases how weird copyright is. As far as I'm aware, it was not explicit when I bought the ticket which platform owned the rights for that tournament. Maybe this is something that can be improved as we move forward. Anyways, since I can't give the Arcana away tomorrow, since I can't stream the tournament at all, this is what I'm going to do. I will cast Star Ladder. To make up for the people that maybe slept late or lost time because of me, I will be giving 2 Arcanas away now. One at the end of each group stage. So if you want to watch my analytic cast, tune in for OG versus TNC at 3 hours CET. Safe Lane Alchemist was always seen as something underwhelming, and indeed it was. Before patch 700, the amount of net worth alchemists were able to acquire early on was very reliant on bounty runes, from the first bounty that gave more gold to the subsequent ones that were only accessible through the mid lane. This changed a little bit. You don't get so much money from bounty runes anymore unless you're roaming the map. You also get levels faster now, meaning that the time you take to get that sweet level 9 with max acid spray and Grievous Grid is a little bit closer to mid alchemists before the patch. Of course, you still can get it earlier in the mid lane, but there are benefits of playing Safe Lane Alchemist. It's a somewhat safer lane. It also means that if you don't go for last pick Alchemist mid and you get counter hard like Queen of Pain or Phantom Assassin, you can still be relevant playing Elk safe lane, asking your other teammate to go mid instead. Another point I want to highlight here is that while Radiance build is more common and accepted, there are players doing it differently. Mid1 for instance played Safe Lane Alchemist with Battle Fury first item. Yes, that dead shitty item. So don't take all I say here like absolutes. Actually I'm going to make a video about Battle Fury Safe Lane Alchemist tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. We're not sure whether Alchemist is viable in this meta or not. There was no big tournament to actually prove that. We also have no idea on which lane or with what build he's going to be played, but I feel like Radiance is still the most stable and better version of playing him. During the laning phase, Matumbaman DCs, and as he goes back to the lane, he actually gets level 2, while Clock and Weaver are disengaging. I feel like maybe he would be able to get the kill with Acid Spray, but in my opinion, 1 point in stun on Safe Lane Alchemist is actually pretty okay. The thing about Acid Spray being so important in the mid lane is that the skill is not only your farming tool, it's also your zoning skill, meaning that most of the time it's kinda hard to get less hits in the mid lane if you don't have the skill up. When you're playing carry, not only you're gonna feel safer going for less hits without it, there's usually way more kill potential here than in the mid lane, meaning that 1 point in stun can be the difference between a kill or not, in this case a first blood. As the laning phase progresses, you can see that he even gets 1 more point in Grievous Grid. The safety of farming the lane synergizes better with the skill. If that's not the case, maybe you would be better off getting level 3 Acid Spray at level 5 and rotating to the jungle at the 6-minute mark, to get bounty rune and farm that area until you get level 6. Just one quick note, look how Matumbaman plays this situation. For some reason, Rubik decided to get stuck in that jungle spot while he had vision of Weaver, and pay attention how Matumba never casts stun. It's obvious he will waste the mana. The only way they get that kill is Weaver diving the tower, while Rubik doesn't go too far away, because then he can land a stun with True Sight from the tower, or they have detection, and our Disruptor boy shows up and they get it. One thing I want to point out that to me feels like a slight nerf to Alchemist is the fact you're kinda forced in the position to get more points in Concussion. What I mean is that before the patch 700, if you knew you still needed to farm or just couldn't fight, you could skip levels in Concoction and actually get something in return, like getting stats. The thing about Concoction is that if you don't land the skill, as you get more levels of it, you will be stunned for more time. That's kinda easy to do if you purchase Manta, but before having it, you need to be careful with the skill. But take all of that with a crispy grain of salt. After all, this is only my 5k MMR scrub opinion. Anyways, the pressure, the madness, clockwork support, all of this was too much for our Matumba boy. He decides that enough is enough and he ends his life. Memes aside though, it's actually not that bad. If he TP'd back to base, he will take a long time to get back. If he denies himself to creeps, same deal. So in a way, if you can spend your money before doing something like this, it's actually pretty decent. Situational, but decent. I always talk about this in my videos, but since a lot of people still don't follow the simple rule to concoction, here it is again. The damage from your stun is physical, your acid spray reduces armor, so when possible, throw acid spray a little bit before the stun is thrown, or a little bit after if it's going to travel a little bit. One thing to always pay attention to is the downtime of your ult, especially when you have it at level 1. I don't usually like to say that pros misplayed, but in my opinion he made a mistake here. The enemies were diving Rubik. He had acid spray on cooldown, so it's not like he needed mana or HP, since he was fairly healthy, and what happens seconds after that is enemies abusing the downtime of the skill. Pugna ends up trying to contest the tier 1 bottom, and he plays it fairly well. He knows he can't win against the sucky, so he goes to the fog, but without that tower for his allies to assist him, he perishes. I mean, they do kill clock and all that, but imagine this fight with him activating ult only when Pugna goes for the tower. He would have way more HP and would keep farming the lane. Instead, he perishes to Weaver. One thing I want to point out in his skill build is the level 2 stun and no level 10 talent. While this game is fairly action-packed, they are against a Weaver that is fairly hard to lock down, they are also against a Meepo, while Concoction is an AoE stun. I feel like a combination of these factors propelled Matumbaman to get level 2 of the skill. If you take a look in the other players approaching Alk, it seems that the level 10 talent is just garbage. And they pretty much ignore the stun as well. So I guess the extra point is just a way to deal with the aggression coming from Dire, since he feels he won't be able to farm uncontested all the time. The level 10 talent is not bad per se. At this stage of the game, Elk doesn't care about extra 20 damage or plus 4 armor. At this stage of the game, he wants to farm as fast as possible, and while extra 20 damage combined with the ult attack speed and Mordigian can feel tempting to you, let's say that with that extra 20 damage, Elk, instead of farming 5 camps per minute, farms 6. If we consider that every camp has on average 3 spawns, and I feel like that's a low number, it means that in this game, Elk will farm 15 creeps. Let's consider he is already full on Grievous Grid stacks. Each creep will give him extra 8 bounty if he went for 1 more point in Grievous Grid, meaning 120 more gold, which usually is more than the average of the extra camp you're actually farming. If we consider that he's starting with no stacks, we still have a fairly close matchup between the two, but you need to take into account that farming one entire camp in 1 minute because of extra 10 damage might seem far-fetched, and I went on to test this hypothesis and it's completely out of proportion. You can try it out for yourself. What I found out is that in 1 minute you're usually going to farm 4 camps. In this specific experiment, I farmed 2 large camps, 1 medium and 1 small one. Having the talent made pretty much no difference in farming speed. Of course, there's creep spawn, variations and all that, but the point I want to make is, Grievous Grid is way better in doing what you want to be doing at this stage of the game, acquiring gold. On top of that, the 3 creeps per spawn guess I made proved to be a very conservative estimate. With 6 tries, I found out that the average creep per camp was 4, meaning that yes, the extra points in Grievous Grid help you more than the more damage. In reality, it feels like both talents are decent. I was watching some other Alchemist replays and Anna went for the armor talent against a Slardar plus SF team. In this game, Matumbaman goes for more armor as well, since they are against Weaver and Meepo. But as I said, you won't be fighting at this stage of the game, meaning that the extra armor will be irrelevant most of the time. This is why most pro players synchronize the talent with either level 14, since there's literally nothing else you can get, or a time you feel like you and your team will be fighting more. I did talk a little bit about the downtime of Chemical Rage earlier in the video, and we can see Meepo abusing that. It's nighttime, Alchemist has no one close to him, and even though his ult is about to end, he goes to farm the mid lane. Pay attention how Meepo initiates on him before the ult isn't even over. He knows that Matumbaman will retreat without regen, but since Meepo went a little bit earlier, he had no time to do that and he perishes. I also feel like he didn't charge the stun for enough time. The 2 Meepos came in with poof, so they deal less damage, so he had enough HP to survive a little bit during the cast time of Concoction. In the end, while I feel like he was playing greedy, he even had a chance to survive, in all honesty. With that being said, I really like how he optimizes his farming speed, be it with stacks that he made even during the laning phase or in this ancient camp. This acid spray placement is also pretty neat. One thing I talked about in my No-Tail Alchemist video is how people sometimes struggle to utilize Radiance as it is intended. So what I mean by that is people finish Radiance on Alchemist only to keep farming as if they were playing Naga Siren. And I mean, yes, this is mainly what you're going to do, but an early Radiance is something you shouldn't underestimate, especially in a hero as bulky and durable as Alchemist. In this clip, he was actually pretty late on his Radiance. This time, since Matumbaman popped his ult before starting to push the tower, Meepo is forced to go on Rubik, since Alch is so durable, guaranteeing them the most important kill of the game.
Radiant structures are fortified. Radiant's bottom tower has fallen. Double kill.
After Radiance, Matumba keeps farming from now on. The main aspect about Alchemist is how he can get to 6 slots fast, kinda like Anti-Mage. The thing though is that without Manta, engaging can be tricky and dangerous. As Matumba was farming, he spots what probably is a rush attempt, but he feels like he can get one of the dire heroes that was closer to him. He doesn't, but thanks to Manta, he can easily avoid being stunned alone, and in that spot he could probably fall. What ends up happening is a huge fight. Pay attention to his decision making. The first cool aspect of this play is that he doesn't throw 2 illusions in the pit, he spreads them towards the enemies. Meepo is forced to retreat and they kill Clock. They almost kill Silencer, and pay attention how this time he understands the differences in strength between Chemical Rage and normal Elk. His ult is about to end, Meepo retreated to the base, but he will surely come back, so he doesn't even dare go into the high ground and chase Silencer even though he's pretty much dead. When Meepo appears, Disruptor is able to glimpse him back as he retreats, and I really like how he tried to dodge Meepo's spoof with Manta. He also turns Armlet on. If he turns Armlet off right after taking the damage, he will lose less HP percentage-wise, especially when he's taking a lot of damage at once. Unfortunately, he ends up going too deep. Elk is deceptively tanky. Yeah, he has ult now, but he is too low on HP. He even tries to Armlet toggle, but to no avail. Well, this wraps up for today. If you enjoyed this video, please guys, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see the extended version, please check the link in the description. Pugna is a platform where you can learn from people like Chessie, Fogged, Monib, and get better at the game. They have now great content on 7.0.0, and if you want to raise your MMR, it's a great time. Just figure out the patch faster than your friends and get those easy wins. Of course, if Miracle wants to be alone here, he needs to step his regen game up, so he finishes Headrest and brings more tangos. The problem is that sometimes you ask your support to leave and he doesn't understand that he's useless in that lane and he's actually leeching your experience. Or when you're a support and you can't deal with the enemy off lane and he just spam pings you that you just abandon him, when in reality that was the best play possible. But anyways, let's keep going. A fairly interesting clip happens after that as Silencer casts Last Word. Instead of trying to run away with the debuff,